Hi, I'm Bruce Frederick. I'm with the New Mexico Environmental Law Center in Santa Fe, and what I'm here to do today is talk about how regulations are adopted in theory, represented by this more or less linear line over here, and then how money perverts the process for how you adopt regulations in New Mexico. I'm going to be talking about the Environmental Improvement Board. That's what EIB stands for. EIB adopts regulations having to do with air quality, and my experience with them is trying to get them to adopt greenhouse gas reduction regulations, which we were able to do successfully. So the first thing you do when you want the EIB to adopt a regulation is come up with a petition. You petition them to adopt the regulation. Go up to EIB. EIB decides whether or not to conduct a public hearing. If it does decide to conduct a public hearing, everybody gets to participate in that, including opponents of the regulation, such as, in this case, PNM, the oil and gas industry, and others. If EIB adopts the regulation, which it did in our case, then the people who didn't like the regulation get to go to the Court of Appeals and appeal it. And the Court of Appeals will check to make sure that the regulation was within the EIB's authority and that it was supported by the law and the evidence. That's how it's supposed to work in theory. How it worked in practice is much different, mainly because of the money that's involved in the system. So I'll follow the process here, be circular. We did file a petition with EIB. EIB decided to conduct a hearing, and we were on our way to that hearing. PNM and oil and gas industry sues EIB in Lee County. Over here, Lee County is in eastern New Mexico. It's basically Texas. It's oil and gas country, and the oil and gas industry is against regulation of greenhouse gases for obvious reasons. We then went to the Supreme Court because the Lee County judge was acting unconstitutionally. So the first time we went to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court ordered the Lee County judge to dissolve that lawsuit. We went back to the EIB, went through our 7-day hearing. The EIB adopted the regulation, and then just as it worked over here, PNM and the oil and gas industry and others appealed that regulation, but they didn't stop there. The EIB adopted the regulation in late 2010. Of course, Governor Martinez was elected in 2011 and came to office. So PNM also went to their friend Governor Martinez, and they have quite a love fest. PNM also went to the legislature, where they have many lawyers and lobbyists working behind the scenes there. We were able to stop all the bills that were pending in the legislature that would have defeated the regulation. So we were able to successfully stop that. Governor Martinez, at the request of PNM and the oil and gas industry, ordered her records division not to publish the rule, but it turns out that was also unconstitutional. So we went to the Supreme Court a second time to order the records administration to publish the regulation according to law. So now we're back in the Court of Appeals, and the new EIB that was appointed by Governor Martinez opposed our intervention in the Court of Appeals. So did PNM and the oil and gas industry. That wasn't surprising. What was surprising is that the Court of Appeals bought their argument and did not let us into our own case to defend our own regulation. So the third time, we went to the Supreme Court and prevailed in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made the Court of Appeals let us in. And so now we're back in the Court of Appeals. We can finally litigate whether what EIB did in 2010 was legal or not. But no, wait a minute, we're not over yet. PNM and the oil and gas industry actually doesn't trust the Court of Appeals to do what Court of Appeals is paid to do. So they entered into a private agreement with the Environmental Improvement Board. They decided to stop the Court of Appeals proceeding without withdrawing their appeals and go back to EIB and have their own petition, kind of an anti-petition to undo the regulation that we petitioned the EIB to adopt. So now they're back at the EIB. We did hold a public hearing, and we're virtually certain that EIB, although they haven't rendered a decision as I'm giving this speech right now, we're certain they're going to repeal, and then we're going to then have to appeal to the Court of Appeals. So in the Court of Appeals, there will actually be 7 appeals pending, where the industry appealed the adoption of the regulation, and at least 7 appeals pending where the EIB repealed the regulation that's up on appeal. Somewhat crazy. So I'll close here by saying this nice linear process is actually the process, a straightforward process, in which the Founding Fathers intended democracy to work. This one right here is how money makes the process work. Thank you.